Hi there, Pisces. Welcome to your end of April 2025 General Tarot Update. It's Rena here. So I'm making a point not to do your reading last. So, you know, okay. It's funny because I was looking at the side of my table and I have these, this version of the Wild Unknown Tarot. I got see, they're smaller. And I had them mixed in here, so I was like, oh, I hope I'm not forgetting that. Okay. Oops. Okay. The heart of the matter is the Hermit card, which is a card of going within. Actually, the 12th house is the Hermit house. I love this particular illustration. Isn't that precious? And yeah, the light, the inner light, and going within, soul searching, that kind of behavior, solitude, you know. And the reason that solitude is so much tied to that type of behavior is that it's not about asking somebody else's opinion on your path. It's really about you feeling into it. Like, what is right for you? What are you supposed to be doing? Nobody else can tell that to you. And so, and also because, a lot of people are pretty opinionated and they want to tell you what you're supposed to be doing and what you're not doing. And so I feel like it can be one of those things that it feels so oppressive, to have people always kind of putting their 2 cents in on what you should be doing with your life. This can come about sometimes when I get the Hermit card. If somebody is married, for instance, and they separate from their partner and they kind of take up a separate residence temporarily, it can help to kind of distance themselves from the situation and be able to think long and hard. Do I want to spend the rest of my life with this person? And not having that person there to manipulate, to kind of try to push their ideas onto you. So maybe you're in that kind of a position. In the past position, we have the Devil card, which can be, to me, the first thing I think about with the Devil card is a narcissist, a narcissistic personality. Not just because, we think of like they're Satan incarnate or something, but somebody who, they say that the devil is connected to the sins of the flesh. So excessive materialism and lust. And what does that do to people? It can drive them to do things that they wouldn't normally do, to be part of things that are not really spiritual, but also something that is quite problematic, in general for people. I feel like this could be like a narcissistic personality, the Devil card. Yes, a partner, but sometimes it can be like a boss. And when it's a boss, it's somebody who is looking at you like you're just a cash cow, like you're the person who is going to, pay their bills, but there's not really that sense of you as an individual. And that's, treating people like, objectifying them and not seeing them as, oh, this person, they may have their own issues going on, and I'm asking them to work overtime so that I can, I don't have to hire other people and take more from myself and that kind of thing. And not really see how that would impact you. But certainly with a partner, and if you're the kind of person who has been laying low, like the hermit, like you may not have even been the one to break up with that person. You may, but you may now see them as the devil. You might think, oh man, I really dodged a bullet. Right when you think that is when they contact you. And we've recently had, a Venus retrograde and a Mercury retrograde. So you may have heard from somebody from your past, and being a forgiving Pisces, you might be like, well, maybe they've changed, even though there's no evidence whatsoever that that's the case. The higher message is the 10 of Swords. This is about, look at that sword right through the eyes. This is, I can never get enough of this card because it's so brutal. And this is the Wild Unknown Tarot. Well, I think I said that at the beginning. This is a deck that has its own type of interpretations, but this is a play on the Rider-Waite deck, the Pamela Coleman Smith. I think she was a Pisces, actually. The illustration that she had, which is one of the most memorable of the tarot, with that I guess is maybe a cow or something, but it had all these swords in its back. And it really is a card of betrayal. And so one of the things that, to me, because this is like the spiritual message, is saying that you have to see the thing for what it is. Like, you have to be able to really identify what it is. So if you were in a relationship with someone who disrespected you and who wound up with somebody else, you have to be able to label it as a betrayal, because otherwise you may be minimizing it, thinking that, well, it's really not that big of a deal. I was working a lot, and, like making excuses for that person and saying, no, it was a betrayal. And it's not meant as a condemnation. It's just meant as seeing things as they are. You're a Pisces. You may have Mercury in Pisces, and you may have those rose-colored glasses like right there at the ready, where you are looking at your life from the perspective of someone who maybe you see yourself as compassionate and saying, this person is going through a lot, and I know that they were feeling lost, and I forgive them. And that's beautiful if you forgive someone. But sometimes, forgiveness doesn't mean that you have to be in a relationship with someone. So there may be this, if you have heard from them and you're kind of wavering, you should really think about what exactly happened, what it really represents, and if anything has fundamentally changed. What crosses you is the Three of Swords. This is a card of cutting something cleanly off. Sometimes this can also be that the person has taken to heart this kind of, this is the three, the heartbreak, the rejection. Taking that rejection to heart, meaning that you're blaming yourself for it. And I could totally see Pisces doing that. But even like with the clean break interpretation, it can be a situation where it's on again, off again. Also, this could apply sometimes with work matters, especially if you feel like the 10 of swords. Like if you had some kind of situation, no, you might not feel like this, I should say, but it might have happened where you were not, either you were promised a promotion or you assumed as much because you had seniority, or there was just some reason why you naturally thought that something was going to happen in terms of like getting a raise or promotion at work, and instead it didn't go that way. And you may try to kind of minimize it, but inside you may really feel like it was saying something about you personally when it might have had absolutely nothing to do with that, and everything to do with somebody at work who might be more inclined to be a schmooze artist or something along those lines, inauthentic, or maybe the boss just uh, kind of identifies with that type of personality versus yours. Remember, you're very spiritual, and it may be hard for other people to identify with that type of person because you might not be cutthroat. You might not be the kind of person that will do whatever it takes to get ahead, because you really do have feelings about other people and their right to, have happiness in their life. You might be like, I don't want to gain at the expense of somebody else, which is very admirable, but, maybe that has created for you this situation where you're not standing up for yourself when you should have. What's coming in is the Son of Swords, which is the Knight of Swords. This can indicate that change is afoot, change in whatever situation this relates to in your life. It also can be the card of being more outspoken, as well as somebody a Knight of Swords can be a male. Sometimes this is chronologically on the younger side, like 20s, 30s. I would even include the 40s, or maybe they're just youthful. I wouldn't say it has to be somebody who's immature, but they might be very brash. Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Gemini is a sign that squares you, Pisces, so you might have an affinity for this particular sign. But it could also be a lawyer. Maybe you think about it, talk to someone and say, hey, you know what? I'm not having this. And that might be what the Hermit card is about. Do you want to sue? Do you want to take somebody to court? Because a part of you may be trying to just act like, hey, it's no biggie. But then another part of you may be, yeah, it is. It is important. Sorry, it is important. The outcome is the Mother of Wands, which is the Queen of Wands. And this is a card of confidence. I associate this with Leo. It is connected to Sagittarius, but they're both fire energy. And Wands is fire. And it's really about confidence, but Mother or Queen can be the water element. So that's your element. So it's really the fire and the water. Both of these are emotional, but I would say the water is sensitive. Being sensitive about some situation that you want to rectify or that you want to put an end to, like the Three of Swords. You just want it to leave your life. And let me just cut this deck for a clarification card. Okay, Nine of Wands. Okay, this is a card of boundaries. And this is something that Pisces people struggle with, maintaining boundaries. because your ruler Neptune is about dissolving, not about, you know, erecting boundaries. So part of this is what I'm getting from this, is that this is on you, that you have to be very clear. And maybe that's what the Son of Swords is. You're becoming more precise, clear, outspoken in letting people know what you're willing to take. If you are separated from your partner, you may be erecting these boundaries, or, when I say erecting, thinking about what you need to discuss. If you are thinking of staying with that person, in other words. But this can apply to any situation, a boss, anyone. And you have to be prepared for pushback, because if you have given in all this time, sometimes people are like freaked out, like, oh my God, what are you talking about? You've always babysat for your grandchildren. Why are you not wanting to do that now? Well, because I want to enjoy my retirement and have freedom. That's what I'm here for. And I'm willing to do it sometimes, but I don't want to be, I don't want anyone to assume that I'm going to do it and take me for granted. And these things are very important to be, you don't have to be emotional. You can just tell it like it is. And that's how you, put up important boundaries and let people know where you stand. All right, Pisces, that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, I do astrology, tarot, combinations thereof. You can find out more information about my package deals and my individual readings at the link below. Thanks for watching. Bye.